internets, welcome to another episode of Tech Royale. Hope this episode finds everybody happy and well. The main focus of this week's episode is the Nokia Lumia 800. Now, anybody who has even half an eye on the tech world is aware of the massive gamble that Nokia have taken by jumping into bed with Microsoft with an operating system that could best be described as only just complete. Now, I've had Windows Phone before. I had an HTC Trophy, which I thought was quite a nice phone, but I had the original Windows Phone 7 pre-Mango release, so just 7, not 7.5, and there was a lot it didn't do, and there was nothing in the App Store. So, thanks to my good friend Cobalt Blue, I've been able to get my hands on the Lumia 800, and I've been using it as a daily driver for the last couple of weeks. I don't want to particularly retread too much old ground about Windows Phone. There's a lot out there on the internet. What I will do is go through a couple of points that, using this as a daily driver, have really both surprised and delighted me. If you live your life around social networking, if you organise yourself through social networking, going to places, getting in touch, staying in touch with people, then as far as I'm concerned, Windows Phone 7 is best in class. This is the People Hub, okay? And this is a really slick mashup between your address book, your Facebook and Twitter feeds, and also LinkedIn if that's a particular interest to you. And it just works so nicely. You've got this column here, which is everybody's names and addresses, and you can jump to a letter just as you'd expect. You pivot to the right, and you've got what's new, which is your Facebook and Twitter feeds. But the nice thing is you can interact with all of these things here. You can see the images without jumping out into a separate browser. You can comment on them, and you can like them. It also shows you people you've interacted with recently, so if you want to redial or send another text message back to somebody, you can go straight to there. And if you click on their picture, it takes you to that person's amalgamated People Hub page. So you've got all the information you need about them. You can interact with them, call them, send them a text, write on their wall. You can chat with them via Facebook as well. You've got their latest Facebook picture, and you've got their latest social networking status as well. And you pivot right, because Windows Phone 7 is riddled with this sort of slightly wider than the screen concept here, and you can see a lineup of their social networking statuses and the pictures that they've posted up, and history, which is how you've interacted with them, messages you might have sent to them. It's very, very slick. One of the features I really like is groups. I've got a group here called The Mob, which is just a sort of random selection of my friends. But these are people that, you know, if I wanted to nip out for a couple of drinks out of the blue, these are people who would probably say yes or at least be available in the area. So I've got The Mob here, and it shows me the pictures of everyone who's there. It gives me, again, an amalgamation of their social networking statuses. Any pictures that there might be of everyone together, but chief of all, it gives me an easy method of interacting. So I can text everybody, or I can send everyone an email and say, hey guys, I'm nipping down to the pub for a few drinks, anybody fancy joining me? It's a very, very nice way of doing things. It's also linked in there is this thing called Local Scout, which you can just press on there, and will immediately give you some local flavour. So for argument's sake, you've ended up in an unfamiliar city with work and you're stuck there for the evening. What do? So Local Scout presents you with some options for eat and drink, some options for things to see and do, and options for places to shop, and also some random highlights. Again, there's millions of applications out there on the iPhone that you could get to do something like this, but to have it built into the phone, readily available and nicely integrated, just click on Curry Kingdom and there you are. I could pin them to the start menu if I wanted to, or I could share it with somebody or add it as a favourite. You can even suggest changes in this Local Scout section, which is nice to give feedback to Microsoft. So overall, it's a lovely phone to use. If you're a social networking kind of person, if you're always on Facebook, if you're always on Twitter, it's really easy to get photographs on Facebook. If you're the kind of guy or girl who spends your evening going around taking pictures of your mates doing hugely entertaining things and then banging them on Facebook straight away before they can remember what they did in the first place, absolutely brilliant. The camera itself is pretty decent, given how narrow the phone body is. It produces really nice snaps. It's not up there with a 4S and some of the really top end HTCs, nor is it anywhere near the mighty N8, but I'd say it's certainly well upper mid-range, and provided there's a reasonable amount of light, you'll be very pleased with the snaps coming out of the camera. I've had the battery life update, which was a bit of an issue with the Lumia 800 when they came out, and I've been getting really good battery life out of it, certainly on a par with the iPhone 4S, which I find will last me 2 days. Found exactly the same with the Lumia 800. So Nokia have done a really good job with sorting out those issues that they were experiencing to start with. The elephant in the room is, of course, Windows Phone 7 and the amount of apps that are available for it. Now, this has been coming on quite a lot. It's only come on a lot since I moved away from Windows Phone. As of last week, there is now a Netflix app in the UK store, which is a big fillip for Microsoft. Netflix is quite a difficult proposition for someone to implement, although it does use Microsoft Silverlight for the streaming, so you'd kind of hope that a Microsoft phone should be able to offer a consistent experience, and it does. It works really nicely. The eBay app is decent. The Facebook app is no worse than any of the Facebook apps and any of the other platforms, but you've got so much good Facebook stuff built in that you very rarely need to dip into it, and if you do, I'd recommend, like I seem to be doing these days, just use the mobile website because the apps are poorly coded. Overall, I will give a thumb up to the Nokia Lumia 800. It's available for free around the £25 a month mark on a 2-year contract. If you're careful around eBay, you can normally pick up a SIM-free one that people seem to be punting along for around the £240 mark, and it is a lot of easy to get on with, satisfying smartphone for the money. One tiny little caveat and word of warning: it has what they call a pentile screen, whereby there are some coloured subpixels missing. I won't go too much into depth to it now, but suffice to say it can look a little odd. If you're an absolute stickler for screen quality, I would advise you to have a look at it in real life to see if you can see the slightly sort of viewed through a screen door effect that really did bug me for the first couple of days, and then afterwards I didn't really seem to notice that much. You notice it more with white text and a black background or vice versa, which unfortunately Windows Phone does seem to use a lot, but only at small point sizes is it really noticeable. Your mileage may vary massively, please do check it out, but it is a good solid phone for the money. Unfortunately, according to one of those leaks that pops out in the tech industry every now and then, it would appear that European carriers are not that happy with Nokia's Lumia efforts. Story released through Engadget today seemed to indicate that they were simply not getting the sales, and they would have been much happier if Nokia had just put Android on it. Now, I can't see as how this would have been a good strategy for Nokia. They would have lost anything that makes them different, and they would have just died amongst the sea of Android smartphones that are out there by all the other major players, the now Sony and obviously HTC to name but two. So they had to do something different, and with the former Microsoft man in charge of the company, it was inevitable what they would do. So that would have been a daft idea. The Americans are taking more to the Lumia 900. AT&T gave it a huge push and have apparently sold out in a number of stores. So it's not over yet. It's still a question that my crystal ball refuses to answer. So going to be an interesting 12 months for Nokia and Microsoft because their fortunes are intertwined from here on in the mobile space. So that's it for this week's episode of Tech Royale. Hope you've enjoyed it. Just to let you know, if you've got a tech query, you're having problems with your wireless router, or you don't know which new phone to buy, by all means give me a shout on the Tech Royale Facebook page. I'll do my level best to give you a half decent answer. So take care, and I'll see you soon. Oh, and bring back Games Master.